Four races have produced 4 different winners so far, but of those 4, only 2 of them inhabit the top 5 in the points currently. While the Monster Mile is the most traditional oval the series has visited thus far, it is not without its unique perils. This bowl-shaped track at Dover could leave a few with empty hands today. We'll see who comes out on top as we get ready to watch round 5 of the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, it's usually at short tracks we talk about drivers never being able to relax. I almost feel like this is another of those places despite the lap length.
Yeah, it is tough all the way around here. The track's nickname, of course, is the Monster Mile, and if you've been around a hot minute, you know that. It's only a mile in length, but turns are banked 24 degrees. If you look at just the simple track map and the banking and all that, you think, oh, this is a relatively easy place to do some racing. But the fact of the matter is you almost have these elevation changes as you rise up and then dive into the corner and then rise back up to go back onto the straightaway. And it's so upsetting for the cars and for the trucks and every other vehicle that ever has raced at Dover International Speedway. And that's what makes this place the Monster Mile. With that, we will go ahead and take a look at today's track guide of the place that went to concrete in 1995.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Brian Yazek. This is the GSRC Silverado at Iowa Speedway. Fun little 3/4 mile short track right in the heart of America. So down the front stretch for your hot lap, you're going to try to find the bottom right here. Let it float down. There's going to be a big bump right there in the middle of the corner. Let it drive straight off. Not to get back into the gas too quick or the rear will try to meet the front of the truck. Down into turn 3 here. Find the yellow line a little bit, about half a lane off. Don't get back into the gas too quick or the rear will try to jump around again, just as what happened to me. Iowa is going to allow guys to run all over the place. So you're going to see guys maybe take a little higher entry into this corner, maybe run that seam, maybe get off the corner a little straighter. There's a whole lot of options here, but in turns 3 and 4, the best line is going to be right up here next to that wall. Let it roll in, kind of diamond the middle of the corner, get back into the gas on exit, not too hard, and then on a turn 4, down the front stretch. And that's going to complete our track guide at Iowa Speedway. I'm Brian Yazek.
This is Iowa.
This was the Chevy Silverado.
Apologies for having Iowa up there on screen, but let's take a look at our championship thus far. We talked about how we've had 4 different winners, and because of that, as you'd expect, the points, which we'll bring up here in just a moment, is being led by Matthew Lee, and he's only got about just a few points over 5 of them, in fact, over Kenneth McCullough Jr., the only other driver in the top 5 who have won. Andrew Melvin is a little bit farther behind, but is keeping it tight up there at the top. We're only about halfway through the season. You can see Bothwell and Clint Cox really, really close in that 4th and 5th position here currently. But in case we have viewers who've never watched the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series, why don't we go over the race details? Adam, what are they up against?
Yeah, so round 5 of 11. So, after today, I think we'll consider that the halfway point of the season once we throw the checkered flag out there. We're going to go 125 laps around the Monster Mile, and we'll see who survives the 125 laps here for today. Whoever does, though, it will probably make a great race out of that. They are running fixed setups. There's no fast repair. And should it become necessary, we'll have 2 attempts to green-white checkered. And Joe, just here for today, they announced that on the starts and restarts, that the leaders will take the green, will go on the green flag, not when the pace car drops off. So the green flag is going to be key here for today. Also, they're going to be putting in some penalties. If you cause a caution, you're going to get an EOL. If you cause a second one, you're going to have a drive-through penalty under green. And if you cause a third one, well, your night's over. But I tell you, if you get involved in 3 cautions at Dover, your night was probably already over anyway.
Yeah, there's really no place to hide around here with how tight it is at this track. But as we mentioned, this race is brought to you by FEG PC. FEG PC builds gaming PCs, and they've built over 1,300 units for iRacers. Their customers include peak pro drivers like Malik and Nicholas Shelton, as well as professional driver coach Enzo Mucci, YouTube top Oval Personality Jason Jacoby, iRacing staff, and a host of other real racing drivers. Ford Entertainment Group PCs start as low as $595 and come with iRacing pre-installed, as well as major third-party apps to make it as plug-and-play as possible. In addition, FEG PC has agreements with most of the top sim equipment companies in the business and can be your one-stop shop for racing cockpits, wheels, pedals, shifters, and much more. You just order, sit at home, and it arrives. All FEG PCs come with a 3-year back-to-front warranty and free tech support via remote service. FEG PC is a family-owned and operated business and has 10 years of sim racing experience. You can find them at fegpc.net. Of course, this series is also brought to you by the iRacing Flea Market. The iRacing Flea Market is a Facebook page with over 12,000 members buying and selling used and new sim racing products. The link is in the YouTube description below. And one little thing before we get to the qualifying here, that we have a merchandise store that we've recently opened here for GSRC, but we're doing something special with it for the month of December. We're doing a holiday giveaway. And how do you enter into that giveaway? Well, it's very simple. Just subscribe to GSRC. Click the big red button that says subscribe, and you will be automatically entered into a giveaway in which you will get to have your free choice of item on our store. Don't worry if you've already subscribed. We'll also choose another person who has subscribed before the month of December. Right now in the qualifying, where they get 2 laps this time to try and get a hot lap in. We are seeing a few of them get their first ones down. It looks like Jared Ix, after his 2 laps, is our provisional pole sitter, but I'm still seeing a number of people that are waiting in pit lane.
Yeah, one of those that's big is of course, Jason Jacoby, who we always expect to be fast every time he shows up on track. He actually just wrecked on his first lap, so he's only going to get 1 shot at it here. Now, that's big because this is one of the first races where these guys really have to worry about warming up the tires with the new tire model and everything else. It's a very more trickier than usual vehicle to drive on the first couple of laps. So to try to have to get the speed down on 1 lap, that's going to be tough.
Right now, the temperatures are relatively low around here, about 75 degrees Fahrenheit currently on the racing surface. You mentioned that it is concrete, and I do believe iRacing does take into account the color of the surface in terms of how quickly it absorbs heat and how much it absorbs heat. Yeah.
Yeah, the albedo of the surface, everything else, and also the surface type. I mean, it does register the fact that it's concrete versus asphalt. Now, that's the other part too. If you happen to dip your tires onto the asphalt, not only do you have the banking change there, you'll have a temperature change in the surface as well. So that it can be pretty interesting.
Yeah, drivers certainly have to be wary of how low they try and take their lines through the corners. Ix, still your provisional pole sitter. Aaron Smith, who is quick in practice, is second quickest right now, about 3/100ths off of Ix, but still not quick enough to start it on the top spot with both of his laps done. Looking and seeing who of our drivers are still getting ready to set times. Looks like Peyton Howell missed his first lap somehow, so he's coming around to set his only lap time that he can get in number 19. Waiting to see what he puts down. Well, he's not going to put anything down. He missed both his laps. So Peyton Howell is going to be starting on the back foot.
And that's going to be a tough one for him. Go over to Tyler Pluff. Right now, sitting in 11th. I believe he's coming up here on his second lap. Rounding turn 4 now. See what he's able to. He was fast in practice earlier on. Knocks off another 10th, but it doesn't move him up a spot.
Stays in 11th position with that one. Kenneth McCullough Jr. is one of our drivers up in the top 5 and second currently, if you saw earlier on that graphic, but he's going to slow it down. He hasn't set a time yet, so I'm hoping he hasn't started a flying lap here, or else that will count as his first lap regardless. He takes it down back to pit lane, but he doesn't seem to be interested in coming back out.
Yeah. So we'll look at Josh Bonwell here from North Carolina, I believe. 23.773. Does he improve?
No.
Actually, he does not log a time on the second lap there. So not good for Josh. Going back and see if maybe he brushed. No, he must. He had a problem, so he was coming back off pit road. So his qualifying time is done.
Yep, that's our whole field. Nobody else is able to get out in time to set a time. So let's go through your starting order for today. Jared Ix, as we mentioned, managed to put it on pole, and Aaron Smith, though he was bested by a small margin, is still going to be on that front row next to him. Jason Jacoby will be in third, with Clint Cox starting P4. Troy Cook in 5th. Behind them on his outside is Davey Hendricks. John Jenkins will be starting in 7th. Josh Bonwell 8th, and Gregory Brandenburg in 9th. Top 10 going to be rounded out by David Santini.
And now through 11th through 20th is a spot here at Dover that I like to call the danger zone, because if anything happens at the beginning of this race, these guys aren't going to have many places to go. Tyler Pluff's going to be in 11th. Andrew Melvin in 12th. They'll make up row 6. Matthew Lee finished second last time out, I believe. 13th position. Jade Bell in 14th. Tim No, 15th. Ray Johnson, 16th. In row 8. Row 9 is going to be Chad Ross. Jose Medina will be in 18th. 19th is going to go to Mark Wilson, and Tobias Eckenberg will start alongside him.
Steve McGaffey will be 21st at the drop of the green, with Julian McLean in 22nd. Brandon Bullock was the last driver to put a time in at 23rd. A lot of them are electing to start from the back. Raymond Rittenauer is one of those in 35th. 35th there. My grid was unsorted. So 24th, Jim Westerfield. There we go. Travis Rucker in 25th. Then you've got Brad Bothwell in 26th position. Eli Waring starting P27. Peyton Howell, we mentioned, tried to qualify, but somehow failed to set a time both laps. Still not sure how he did that. 28th for him. Kenneth McCullough Jr. elected not to qualify intentionally. 29th for him. 30th is Jeff Radke.
And 31st, there's Jeff Radke again. David McCullough in 32nd. Joshua Cadell in 33rd. William Rucker, 34th. Starting shotgun on the field is going to be Kevin Sargent. So starting, it looks like 35 vehicles here for tonight, and a good-sized field for Dover.
Absolutely. It's going to be a stacked field out here with quite a bit of iRating and quite a few trucks rather, that will be starting as we work our one pace lap that we have around here. It's a mile track, so that means that they only do a single lap around behind the pace car, then they'll be released. But how many laps can they go into this 125 lap race before they get to a caution? It is incredibly tricky, as Adam was talking about. You can see the last of them just coming out of the pit lane now and following them up. In fact, wow, they were quite a ways behind. Not sure what the holdup was there in the middle of the pack, because already the Mustang pace car is getting ready to duck in out of turn 4, and that is going to give control to Ix. Waits patiently, has to wait for the green, remember. Pace car is in, just pacing the field calmly around 4. Flagman's giving it a long time before he goes. Green flag is out. And now Ix is able to get onto the throttle, gets a decent jump over Aaron Smith. He will actually be fully passed by the time they get into turn 1. Top 5 already single file, side-by-side action for 6 between Hendricks and Jenkins.
And a lot of trucks had wheel spin right off the line there. And that affected some people, but already starting to get single file. And Joe, for a second there, I thought Aaron Smith might try to start to work that high side. That's going to be key later on, because any other restarts, the leader will be able to choose if he wants to start in the inside and outside, and expect that outside line to try to come in.
First 2 laps already, 2 positions up for Jason Jacoby. The number 88 already spying Jared Ix. Let's see if he can make another position up and start to lead early on. We're just ticking into lap 3 right now as they plunge down into turn 1 once again.
And it really is a plunge. I mean, I guess we could try riding on board one of these guys here real quick, and you'll kind of get the sense, especially when you come out of 4 and you feel the rise. And we really didn't get a chance to see that earlier, but trying to get that fired up. I think, Joe, I think the computers know it's getting close to Christmas, and they're already trying to take a break on us here. So it's,
Really
I think it's a logical explanation. That's doing it at work, too, so I understand. Here you go. All right, so right on board Jacoby, you can see that rise coming out of 2, and then you go into 3, and you just dive right down. And that's not just diving into the corner like that expression. You literally dive downhill, and you have to climb back uphill going into coming out of 4, and that's why you see a lot of wrecks in the front straightaway here.
We ride on board with Jason there in the second position. The top 3 have started to get a breakaway. The number 7, you have Aaron Smith still holding on to them. Ooh, big gains on the leader there, down into 3 from the 88. But Ix is still holding on to that top spot. They've gapped Cox back in 4th position by about a second at this point. Still, every corner entry, we see Jacoby just get right underneath the rear bumper of the number 1.
Looking at some guys already starting to have a little bit of handling issues. You've already had a few guys have some minor problems. Braden Johnson already has a bent up front end. I saw Jonathan Cadell into turn 2 wall. Looking at somebody down the front straightaways off here.
Trying to figure out who that is.
So it's Dave
That was
Hendricks.
Yeah. Gets it going. Let's look at the replay. No caution. And he actually touched the wall.
Yeah, he got into that inside wall. I don't know if it was enough to really hurt the suspension there, but his front end is all messed up.
Oh, he got the apron there.
Yeah. And that's another thing that sometimes guys will do is to try to avoid the sharpness of that rise coming out of 4, which upsets the truck. They'll try to dive it down a little lower than what they should, catch that apron, and guess what? Same effect. You still end up in the inside wall.
Meanwhile, back up to the leaders. There's a little touch to the back of Ix by Jacoby. That's going to get him to the inside. He's been sitting there for quite a while. Now that he's got that inside line with how deep he is on the brakes.
Jared Ix also hit the apron a little bit right there, right before that contact. I just went back and looked at it, and that upset the truck up enough that Jacoby was able to get into him.
Well, all that fighting has now brought Clint Cox in 4th place a lot closer to our top 3. The 70's been staying patient behind them.
And these guys are already getting ready to hit lap traffic here with Brandon Bullock, Julian McLean, Kenneth McCulloch. And they're going to have to work their way around them here over the next little bit.
There's a little bit of a peek to the inside off of turn 4.
Bobby gets onto the apron a little bit too. Look at him slow way down. Jared Ix has to back off of it to stay out of him.
Weaving his way through that traffic. Jacoby getting himself a small buffer as that was McLean staying up high, staying out of the way. Once again, off of turn 4, it seems like Ix has got good runs, but they can't do anything down into the turns.
And Jacoby now, I think, wanting to try to get his truck settled down, so he's starting to try to take that higher line a little bit. That's allowing Ix to get that inside look, and looks like Aaron Smith might try to follow suit. And Jacoby cuts it down, doesn't want to get freight trained right there.
We've been green since the race started here, and we're on lap 13. How much tire preservation does one have to do around here in the trucks? If we keep going green, is it going to show who's been managing that well?
You know, from everything that I've been hearing from a lot of the guys is that tire management is going to start to become key. But I'm not necessarily sure about here right now, because I'll tell you, in practice with these guys, the fall off wasn't a lot. I mean, you had guys doing 30 lap runs and they're only dropping off a couple of tenths of a second. So whether they're just really good at managing their stuff, or whether maybe with the new tire model, because that's the big wild card here is the new tire model, maybe we're not seeing the tire wear really set in on this concrete surface.
Continuing to lap around with Ix in the lead. Jacoby's since been slotted back into second. Smith riding in third. So we now ride on board with Aaron, watching from on the yellow number 70. Starting to gain a little bit on the 88 here and there. And in fact, Jason looks like he might be falling off of our leader as well. They're starting to bring in Clint Cox once more in that fourth position, who's bringing some friends. That's Jenkins, Santini, and Cook, who are behind him.
We saw what happened the last time that the guys got in lap traffic. Well, they're getting ready to hit a whole slew of them. But first, we'll go back to P10 and looking at the battle back there. Actually, Dave Hendricks looks like he is setting sail for P10, and he's falling back there after that kind of half spin he did on the front straightaway. Get back behind him, though, and Chad Ross is really having to fight hard for 11th to hold off Melvin.
Yeah, not only him, but there's Pluff, Rucker, and Bell waiting to try and gobble them up if any sort of issue happens. We had a change for P4, though, because Jenkins managed to get by Cox, and so did Santini, suddenly falling backwards after he was steadily reeling in the podium. Let's take a look at how it happened. 5 just managed to send it in there, take the line away from the 3. Cox had no response, and as soon as he was up on that high line, it looks like Santini was not going to sit around and wait for another opportunity.
He pounced on that. Hey, one thing I know our director saw it a little while ago, and I was kind of starting to think about it, and I went back and looked. Jared Ix, oh, look at Jacoby. He's going high.
Yeah, Smith gets by. Looks like Jenkins might get him as well, as he's underneath now as they come across the start-finish line down into turn 1. They're going to come through lap traffic, though, here. The Budweiser car, McCullough, up there. He is absolutely in the way of poor Jacoby, and he might get boxed into the corner unless he can stay way up high. They're going to go 3 wide through 3 and 4. Can they get out the other side, though, without tangling up? Looks like they just managed it.
Here is one of the hardest spots to be in for what David McCullough was just found himself in, and that he handled himself perfectly there. That could have been so dangerous for so many guys, but everybody gets away with it clean. The point I was just getting ready to make, Joe, is the back end damage on Jared Ix's truck. I actually noticed that when it happened, compared to what he's been doing since then, I think maybe it bumped the spoiler up a little bit, maybe helped him out with a little bit of rear downforce, particularly over the humps, because ever since he got that rear damage, he's just been flying.
You're really right. And not only has he dropped what was Jacoby earlier, but Smith has not been able to run him down now that he's gotten into second. I almost wonder if Jason got a little damage on the front of his truck with that bump, because from going from battling to first to now barely holding on to 4th place, it seems a little unusual for the 88.
Yeah, his front looks okay. His rear doesn't, but he also doesn't have the damage in the same place that Ix does. So that could be something. It just there's so many variables. We watched William Rucker actually get into the wall a little bit while the leaders are trying to go around them.
And looking at the rest of our field to see who's been really making progress. Travis Rucker, who didn't qualify, is currently up into 11th right now after starting 25th. He's number 83. There you see him currently ahead of Chad Ross, who just made a position on. That's Melvin and Pluff just behind them. So that starting to the back, despite not getting to caution yet, is working out well for Travis. A little bit of a battle in 20th. Johnson being trailed by Eckenberg and Westerfield. This is all for position between these 3. We're starting to get
wreck on the front straightaway. Who is it? Yeah, David McCullough found himself hard in the inside wall. His engine is smoking.
No caution. You see a replay. I think he understeered off. No, he got loose off.
Yeah, it was that transition there, and he carried him right in the inside wall, and he's gonna call it a day, I think.
Well, unfortunately for him, the Bud was actually for the wall and not for you. So the number 6 has found himself prematurely ending his day.
You could have said he needed a Budweiser after that,
Oh, I'm sure he will.
right?
Let's go back to third place. As we were talking about Jason seemingly dropping off on pace, and now he's gotten right back on Jenkins. This is almost a yo-yo type pace for the number 88. I can't tell what is going on in that truck. And they're both catching up to Aaron Smith in second place as well.
Yeah, Aaron Smith was having difficulty with some of the lap traffic there a few minutes ago. Once he got cleared of it, though, his pace never really came back. So Josh Jenkins is almost right there, already close enough that one slip up from Aaron, he's going to find himself losing second position. He's actually, I think, maybe has a run on him here down the back straightaway. Not going to do anything with it here right now, though. But he's on the hunt, and Jacoby, I think he's got his pace back, kind of got himself settled down. I think he's coming back himself.
This is really seeing a lot of ebb and flow between many of these drivers. Some falling back early and then moving back forward, and some the reverse of that as the 5 gets a shot off the corner, but almost gets into the left rear of Aaron Smith. Has to back out of it slightly. Finally gets another try down into 3 and 4.
Thought Jason Jacoby was going to try to take that thing 3 wide there for a second. I'm glad he didn't, because I don't know if that would have worked out.
I think he was a little smarter than that, but Smith does lose 2 positions on one end of the track, just like that. He's down to 4th and off the podium. Jacoby still following the 5. Is that what position in front of them?
It is for 28th. Kenneth McCulloch getting around Jose Medina for 27th position right there.
I was going to say, that'll make life a little bit harder if they keep fighting in front of them. That'll bring 2 battles together, but now that they've separated.
And they have another battle right in front of them. They're going to get clear of that battle, and then you got Kevin Sargent and Bothwell battling for 25th, with Bothwell just getting past Sargent.
32 drivers still running. We only have 24 on the lead lap right now. So they're dropping very quickly. This 1 mile track without any cautions is giving us a bit of a conveyor belt going on.
Yeah, and it happens fast here, but this is getting into that danger area too. Is the handling of the truck starts changing? Who's going to be able to adapt? In fact, Brandon Bullock in the wall. It's only a couple of cars in front of our leader here. He's on the high side. I think everybody's going to be able to get around him cleanly. But yeah, that's. Oh, and in fact, actually, we got to stay on Bullock here real quick. He almost had got into the back of Rittenauer, almost got into the back of him, and that could have collected your leader. But, okay, so everybody's clear of that one. That's good. That got hairy there for a second.
I think Bullock is just trying to stay out of the way at this point. He's riding high, and even though he's well off the pace, he's not causing too much of a headache, because that's our fourth place driver now, going by, Aaron Smith. We've come back to Jason Jacoby once again, still chasing John Jenkins. Number 5 on the corner entry has been seeing that bright blue truck get closer and closer, but has not dived to his inside quite yet. This traffic could play a part in that.
Yeah, we're seeing now that guys have kind of gotten separated out a little bit. Aaron Smith is the one that's just been the kind of getting the raw end of the deal of all this.
He's about 1.5 seconds back from Jacoby right now, and nowhere near him. They are within roughly 1 second of Ix. Just in front of them is Jenkins and Jacoby. I wonder if they could maybe reel him in a little bit, depending on how the traffic goes. I think Ix has got himself a small gap with that lap traffic in front of him.
Yeah, and of course, once he gets past and that small gap clears out, because it'll be Braden Johnson that ends up next. He's got everybody pretty much single file for a while in front of him. And I think it'll be key, because he'll be able to pick them off one by one instead of having to dice through battles like what he has been here.
It's taken a while for John Jenkins to get by Tobias Eckenberg as well. Eckenberg's already a lap down, so not sure if he has reason to try and fight hard here. But the 5 still just can't get the pace off the corner. Oh, brushing the wall. That was Eckenberg, who found himself slowed up. That's the opportunity that John needed, and that moves him into he was in P2. It moves him by the lap truck, rather.
I got to give a shout out to these guys here real quick. I mean, we're sitting here, we're getting ready to hit lap 40. Not a single caution, only a few slight incidents, but not enough to bring out a caution. And this is one of those tracks that a lot of oval racers really try to avoid. But, 35 guys came out here to try to give it a shot tonight. And so far, almost everybody is surviving.
Right now, back in 11th, Davey Hendricks, who we saw avoid disaster a little bit earlier, is now having to avoid getting past because Andrew Melvin's right behind him. Tyler Pluff is as well. We saw them trailing him a little bit earlier, but now they've really closed it up. In fact, Pluff might be looking for something on Melvin soon as he gets close to the rear spoiler. Riding on board now with the number 39 rather. Melvin just ahead of him.
The fun part is these guys are only about 7 seconds or so in front of your leader right now, so less than a half a track separates them.
And this is for just outside the top 10, mind you. It's a lot of trucks that are being lapped very, very quickly. They go underneath one of those that have been lapped, as I think we got our first taker from the mid-pack into the pits, Josh Bondwell, for green flag stops.
Trying it on to him here. It's a slow pit lane speed limit here. It's 35 miles an hour, and it feels like an eternity, especially ever since they extended that pit wall there, kind of going back into turn 4. It makes it feel even longer.
So he gets his service done. He's back out, and the number 56. Looks like Jared Hicks, our leader, is in.
Oh, and David Santini spins out of 6 coming down into pit road. Caught the end of the sand barrels.
We'll watch the replay of it. Yeah, it looks like he was coming in a little bit too hot and could not get it pulled down. You see the 16 decides it's time to pit, tries to get down onto the banking, but he's a little too fast.
Yeah, that could have been very bad. I've seen those sand barrels mess up trucks, cars, anything else that hits him, even here in iRacing, and he's lucky he still has something to work with here.
All right, Hicks is out. Smith follows him out. We had, who was it that pitted, actually?
Aaron Smith came in.
We had someone else. It was Bonwell. That's who I was looking for. And he was not able to jump him. Oh, and Bonwell's down into the wall right now. Caution is out because of that very incident.
In the middle of a pit cycle.
That is, the number 56 has certainly caused a bit of a headache for a few drivers. He's lucky he didn't take a few more drivers out. Both Matthew Lee and Kevin Sargent had narrow escapes on the backstretch. There you see the 56 spinning back up and just stopping with a lane to spare.
This is going to shuffle things up a lot here. You had all the way back to 8th place lap because you were in the middle of the pit cycle. John Jenkins was in the lead. Where did Ix come out? Ix ended up 2 laps down with the pit stop.
So John Jenkins, of course, pits. Now, why are we only seeing a couple of them pitting? This is interesting.
I think they're going to. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some guys, somebody stay out, even if it's just for a little bit, to try to pin some of these guys. But I'm not seeing anybody in a good position to do that. Clint Cox will take the lead here. So yeah, all these guys right now will get waiver rounds, but even then, I mean, that still hurts Ix a ton. I mean, even with the waiver round, he is still going to be a lap down.
Yeah, that was just the absolute worst timing for our leaders who did decide it was time to pit. I kind of wondered about that too, Adam, because as they were doing that, I thought, well, this seems like a bit of a risky strategy considering they're the leaders.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, if it's time, it's time, and just fortune didn't go their way, and with pit road speed being what it is, you know, it's just it just hurts them. Now, some of these guys coming down right now, I'm a little surprised about. Eli Warren, I think he thought he come down. Yeah, Bothwell. Yeah, so that's probably why they're coming down. It was getting ready to be their time. I think some of them were already a lap down. So, man, that just Ix had a fast truck, and he's got an uphill climb from here. See, Aaron Smith will still be a lap down when everything's said and done. Troy Cook.
So I'm going through because those drivers who did stay out have elected to come back in, including Cox and No. But Steve McGaffey has stayed out, and from what we understand, drivers can make roughly about 50 laps under green. Well, we're on lap 50 right now. We've only had a couple laps of caution. So this number 7, who's found some track position by this move, I'm not sure that he'll really be able to go all that much farther.
Oh, so I'm wondering what his play is here. Maybe he's going to try to maximize it. Maybe thinking that, you know, the fact is that we went a really long way before we saw this first caution. Maybe we'll go a long way again, and maybe I'll need to stretch that fuel just a little bit. Man, yeah, so he's going to come down now. I think he was even a lap under yellow, you know, 2 laps under yellow. I mean, that it could be an advantage. Not much of one, but it can be a little.
So how many do we have on the lead lap? I believe 13 trucks I'm seeing are left on the lead lap with that unfortunately timed caution. Hope make that 12 now. And in fact, a few more are going down as they're taking repairs, it looks like. Getting some information from the stewards, just getting drivers up to speed on if they're getting any sort of black flag. But I think we're going to go racing once more. The yellow, now the yellow was attributed to Jenkins. Not sure why they would attribute it to Jenkins, because Bondwell was the one that went around, wasn't he?
Yeah, let me while you call the restart, I'm going to go ahead and go back and take a look real quick.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe we missed an incident out there.
And maybe he, you know, maybe it was just an error in the number of the vehicle, which is entirely possible too.
That could be. He's going to get the restart now because the pace car is in, the number 5. Again, we'll have to wait for the green flag to be waved. He cannot go prematurely. Number 5 waits patiently as the green flag finally comes out to his outside. Matthew Lee going to try to get himself a good jump, see if he can ride that high line, which hasn't worked that well so far around this track. Doesn't this time. He slots down in behind as close quarters racing between Clint Cox and Tyler Pluff. Jacoby is in there as well as they all try to get it sorted out back around 6th and 7th place.
Okay, so John Jenkins didn't do anything there. I think it was a number read error. That caution was on Josh Bonwell. And you'll know this because here for today, the cautions today, if you cause a caution, you're going to get an EOL on the restart. And obviously that didn't happen to John.
Oof, things are really dicey here in the latter half of the top 10. Jacoby makes short work of Tyler Pluff, getting himself into 5th position. Behind them, still hard racing between Chad Ross and Eli Warren. Warren comes out on top of that with the 10th position now.
Lots of different players up here now than were there a little while ago, but you still have a few guys that are the same. Jacoby's still trying to fight for position. Looking at the going back, especially right now, right around that top 10 mark that we were bringing up. You got Eckenberg that's on the inside of Chad Ross. Wasn't Eckenberg going a lap down and in the wall just a little while ago? Well, now he's fighting for a spot in the top 10.
Yep. He's fighting with Eli Warren, which is a little bit up the way. The truck that was above him is a lap ahead. That was Chad Ross. So Ross really didn't have much of a reason to try and fight.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, because we ended up having 2 cars fall off the lead lap there right before the restart. We actually only have 9. So only 9 trucks on the lead lap in this thing.
Well, that certainly weighs the win in their favor, especially if we get a lot more green flag racing. That'll make life. Oh, never
Caution out there
mind.
again.
Commentator's
Ooh,
curse.
Aaron Smith in the inside wall. I saw another truck down there with him.
Gonna
Oh,
see.
Kevin Sargent ended up getting loose off 2 and collected Aaron Smith.
Yeah, Smith really didn't have much of a way to go. Let's see if we can watch the replay here. Sargent just gonna see his rear get a little loose. Yeah, wow, that happened fast.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Kevin Sargent, it seemed like he was reacting to the truck on the outside of him kind of coming down just a little bit and turned the wheel just a touch too much. Back end, lost grip, and did what old DW used to like to call the hospital wobble, except instead of ending up in the wall, he ended up finding Aaron Smith.
Let's see the spin cycle he certainly went for. Caught it pretty well, though. He got it going, but there's tons of damage on the right side of that truck, so he's going to have to get some repairs once they open the pit lane. Looks like, actually, I think they have opened the pit lane, and Davey Hendricks is going to risk coming down. He's one of our lead lap drivers. That'll only send him to 9th. I'd say this is a good call on his part.
I probably would do the same right now. I mean, why not? I mean, you only have a couple cars in the lead lap. You got guys that aren't going to get back on the lead lap on this one, so you still probably end up with maybe 9 or 10 trucks. So why not take a chance? And it gives him a chance to get a little bit more of that damage repaired that he got very early on in this one there on the left front corner. And that's probably why he stopped for so long. Might as well.
That's a good point. I hadn't even considered, I forgot about the damage you got to the left front. So that Drix Designs 38 returns at the tail of the field, but again, still only lost just a couple positions. John Jenkins is your leader right now, ahead of Matthew Lee in second place. The drivers who were leading early on, let's see if they've made any sort of progress back down there. I'm having to search through our timing and scoring to find them, which is unusual in this case.
And Kevin Sargent was given an EOL for that. If he's still able to actually be turning any kind of lap times, that was a hard hit still. Aaron Smith has decided to call it a night, so he no more of the yellow truck out there here for tonight.
It's a shame to see. Jared Ix was up to what looked like about 12th or 13th, but he's come down pit lane. He's going to take a stop since he won't be able to get a lap back anyways under caution. He was one of our front runners we were watching before. We mentioned Jacoby is still on the lead lap. He got lucky and didn't pit early on that before that first caution, rather. Who else of our front runners? Clint Cox, who was well up there, has managed to stay on the lead lap. He's still running in 4th place. David Santini is fallen all the way to 29th and is not looking too good. In fact, he's the last truck running other than Brandon Bullock.
Yeah, it seems like Bullock was already 4 laps down there, and so he don't have to worry probably about him too much. It's looking at some of these other guys. Santini's still sitting there for a while. I'm actually surprised Kevin Sargent didn't come down pit road and start trying to get a little bit more of that damage repaired than what he did. I mean, on this latest update here too, they increased the sensitivity of damage on the front of, well, all the NASCAR vehicles, but particularly the trucks. And I would not be surprised to see Kevin Sargent start overheating actually here once we go back to green. So he's gonna have to keep an eye on those water and oil temps.
We're keeping an eye on the pace car because they've now turned off the lights. So they've gone double file, and the number 5 will lead the way. John Jenkins will get a restart on lap 61. We're just a little bit shy here of the halfway mark in this 125 lap race, working their way under that very unique crossover bridge that they have here at the track. Pace car going to peel in, give way to that number 5 with that early pit entry. Slowly trundling out of turn 4, waiting patiently to be given the signal to go. We've still got 30 trucks that are racing out there right now. Green flag is out. Will we still have 30 and a few more laps time when we reach the checkered flag?
Wheel spin everywhere in that field. And it hit some of the guys in the middle part there. You saw some guys trying to go 3 wide, going all the way down to the asphalt on the front straightaway. Everybody survives, though.
Jacoby's looking very good. He's already moved up to 3rd from 5th in 1 lap. Next up for him is Matthew Lee. He's staying right beneath the rear bumper, completing the first lap under green. Without the main other drivers that have been fast so far tonight, I'd say this is an open door. Oh, and the 5 is almost around. Both of them catch it. Matthew Lee was the other one that had to catch an almost spin, and Jacoby inherits the lead out of that.
Oh, and I don't know how Matthew Lee didn't get more damage out of that than what he did. That was a fantastic drive to get around Jenkins. We'll see how much he's hurt, but oh, Jenkins ended up with pretty good left front damage there. Probably only going to affect Arrow, but it'll still affect him here. Back end just breaks loose.
Whatever sacrifice Jacoby made to the racing gods, they are smiling on him today because he was gifted that lead like no other and is already stretched away about half a second over the second place truck of Andrew Melvin right now. So he is unfazed with no lap traffic coming up yet. Just basically an open goal in front of him.
Clean air it's going to mean a lot. Caution now on the Speedway.
Was it Ix? I think it was Ix. And looks like Steve McGaffey spins in sympathy. So what happened to our former leader?
Oh, that was weird.
It looks like he tried to move down the track, and then when it went back up, I mean, the banking can do weird things.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and especially with that kind of transition right there. Man, whale of a job by all those guys trying to get around him. Especially Kenneth McCulloch. I mean, who was just in front of him? It was Rittenhauer was just in front of him. That was close.
I think the save of the race for me is the number 35, Jim Westerfield. There you see him, the black and white truck. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow. I mean, that was timed to perfection, and he came in blind. He couldn't see what was going on. You'll see here, watch from on board the dash. The DC truck in front of him, the number 13, covered his view.
It's just insane. You know, and actually, you know, our series organizer on race control just came on radio and said almost looked like he had a flat tire, and that really was almost the way the car acted.
Looks like a lot of drivers are going to elect to come in on this lap. A few of them have stayed out. Just 2 of them. Looks like Eli Warren and Brad Bothwell are staying out. That's going to give them the lead. Is Jacoby... Wait, are we getting things...
Yeah, we're going to have a few more than that taking the wave around here. I think Rittenhauer, Eckenberg, Rucker, Cook...
No, but Warren's on the lead lap. That's not a wave around. That's what I'm trying to figure out here.
Yeah, see, trying to see, unless it just hasn't updated yet here. Sometimes that happens.
Coming into pit.
Yeah, sometimes that happens with timing and scoring in these situations where, you know, because of yellows, you end up with now 15 different things going on. And sometimes timing and scoring takes a second to catch up. And I think that's what we're seeing here. So probably get one more lap here. We'll get a good, clearer picture of who's all trying to take a wave around.
Well, while they try to sort that out, we're going to take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with more of the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series. Welcome back to Dover International Speedway. We're going to watch the restart here with Jason Jacoby now leading the field. He was quick in the very early laps, then fell back and caught a lucky break on the caution to keep him one of the few trucks on the lead lap. We're getting a few more of them back as many stayed out this time to try and get themselves back in there. We're back up to 19 of them on the lead lap, but many are on old tires. Not so for Jason here in the number 88, who we ride on board with. No more pace car in front of him. Next to him is Andrew Melvin, who he had a good gap on before that last caution. Oh, but he went early. Ooh. Green flag is out, but what are they going to do for him here? He tries to slow it up, but the damage is done. I suspect we might see a black flag for the 88.
Well, we'll have to see how they handle this here. He is slowing down. He is letting the field catch back to him here. So trying to do the sportsmanship thing. Yeah, that's probably better. It's better than a drive-through, as long as the series organizers are okay with that kind of give me back there.
Oh, and already another caution.
I think he felt within the spirit there. Ooh,
Mark it was Wilson, Mark Wilson.
I think something happened in front of him, though.
Yeah, it was the 14 of Jade Bell. Bell was trying to take down to the bottom line with Kenneth McCullough still sitting there.
I mean, I don't want to call somebody out like that. I kind of ran him down there.
Yeah, I think his spotter was a little bit on vacation there at that point. And that just caused a chain reaction behind. You can see multiple trucks, unfortunately. Even though he caught it on the slide back up, everybody had to try and check up to stay out of him. There's the 03 of McCullough just below on our camera. The DC truck number 13 getting some of the worst of it.
I think he might have hit the incident limit. Incident limit here today is only 13. And with the wrecks the way they work out here, it doesn't take much for you to find yourself at a 13 incident limit.
Every one of the drivers who stayed out to try and get that lap back are loving this caution, though. They're on the lead lap. They're going to get fresh tires. This is just a beautiful opportunity for them.
And Jared Icks, even though he was just involved in that last caution before this, he only missed out on getting the lucky dog, I think, by one spot. I think Eckenberg might get it here.
All right, so that'll bring Eckenberg back into the fray. We had such clean racing at the start, but cautions are once again breeding cautions here in the middle of today's race. Melvin now your leader. Jacoby will be in second. That's a lesson he won't forget on the restart, I'm sure. And in fourth, we've got we've got Chad Ross. I almost wonder if Tyler Pluff here in the number 39 is something of a dark horse. He's gotten up to the front here. He's just been kind of hanging around ever since we had that first caution. And the number 39 is got an opportunity, but the question is whether he can take advantage of it. Does he have the pace to try and challenge these top drivers?
A lot of it, I really think right now we're at a point, and we've seen it every single restart. It's managing the tires on the restart. Every single one, I've seen tons of wheel spin, and if he can get off essentially the line because you're going so slow when the green flag comes out, it can pay dividends, and he can get a good jump. All about that traction, Joe.
Absolutely. As we watch Miles the Monster holding a very boxy-looking stock car there. Just a few more of the drivers taking last-minute stops here, maybe either for repairs or topping up on fuel, getting some fresh tires since they got nothing to lose. So what do we have on the lead lap after that accident? Are we still to 19? No, because we had Eckenberg get it back. So we're up to 20. Ix is still trapped a lap down.
But he is the lead car one lap down now. So if we end up with another quick caution, as long as he's not in it, he can get back on this. And, he's been able to get some of that damage repaired too. So he could still be a threat here.
We'll find out soon enough because we're going too wide yet again with the lights off on the pace car. The field has widened for our top group challenging for the lead. Are any of them going to work their way back to the front? Do they have to be aggressive at this point? There's still a fair amount of laps left to go. Stewart's actually getting on the radio to remind the field to only go on green. It'll be Melvin controlling that this time. The 808 car of Clint Cox in the number 3, who's been relatively quick, managed to qualify in 4th place, restarting here in 6th. He's got a good shot here. Coming around turns 3 and 4 now. Melvin waiting for the green flag.
The amazing speed of 45 miles an hour.
I'm amazed they can stay on the banking at 45 around here. Off of the corner. Should be getting the flag soon. Flag is out. Green waves. And Melvin doesn't have the best of starts. This is looking very, very good for Jacoby. Can't quite get it around the outsider, can he? Whoa! And Jacoby looking incredibly strong. He's back up to the front. He is in the lead. They get single file behind him. First battles are down between Matthew Lee and Brad Bothwell in 7th and 8th.
I think everybody's getting... Oh! Who was there? That was Chad Ross, and I don't know how he saved that truck.
Oh, he didn't save it because he just got turned again, and a caution is coming out. Let's take a look at the replay here. Oh, a lot of trucks are getting involved. There's the catch.
That's a mess. That was a mess. He kind of ended up being an innocent bystander and all that. Now the entire back half of the field getting involved. That should give Ix, I think, the lucky dog here.
So this happened when the number 5, actually, that was John Jenkins. You know what?
He kind of got shoved down into him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Eli Warren in the 33 to his top side that just gave him the slightest bump, and that sent him down into him. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had that because he was trying to stay out of the way of Ross.
Yeah, you know, it's trying to see. Eli kind of came down a little bit. We heard maybe he was having some communication issues earlier, so I don't know. Maybe he didn't know that Jenkins was right there. I don't know. Actually, looking at that one again, it looks like one came up, one kind of came down, and meeting of the minds in the middle. And the losing side of that was about half the back half of the field.
See right here, it's on this front stretch. Because he saw the car low. He was trying to stay high. Got shoved down. And from there, all the drivers who are at full tilt at this point had very little opportunity to try and stay out of the collecting mess. And they're calling. Ooh, they're calling it on Warren.
Yeah, they are.
I have to admit, I kind of agree on that one.
Yeah, I mean, my first gut instinct was that he kind of came down a little bit, and it's usually the one you go with. That's tough though. I mean, that's a Dover kind of incident right there, where you have a wreck like that, and just everybody just starts piling into it. And Jared Ix is back on the lead lap now, so move him back up. Seeing Peyton Howell just kind of pulling off. His night might be done.
Credit to the number 1 of Ix. There we see him on screen, sticking with it, especially with all the dramas that he's gone through so far. The driver of that number 1 managed to not give up, and with actually a fair few laps left, should have himself managing to stay with it to be able to challenge here. And he's going to come into pit lane, of course, to get some fresh tires just to help his chances.
Yeah, because he will start at the end of the longest line still after the lucky dog. So, you know, his job isn't done yet. He's back on the lead lap, but now he has to, you know, not well, I don't want to say stay there because he certainly has the pace, but with this whole cautions breed cautions thing we've been kind of stuck in now for the last 30 laps or so, he's going to avoid trouble now. I think that's going to be the key to whether or not Ix can get back up there and contend for a possible top 5.
Before this penalty, Warren would have been looking a lot better. He was up 18 positions. Kenneth McCullough Jr., how about this one, though? 15 positions up. But really, the credit for the hard charger has to go to Bothwell, sitting there in 7th position, up 19 since the green. But, as Soup would like to say, it is not a legitimate hard charger. He didn't qualify, unfortunately.
Well, me and Soup disagree on that. He still started there on a track like Dover. He still had to work for it, so I'll give it to him.
Are the rules different on an oval, maybe, perhaps?
Maybe. I don't know, even on a road course. I mean, you still started in that position.
Yeah,
that's my thought on it. Me and Soup gone back and forth on that a few times too, though. So.
Think the lights are out on the pace car. Yep, they are indeed. So that's a nice thing compared to how we started out, at least with round 2 with our coverage at Talladega. Those pace laps can take a while. It's only a mile course, so they go much quicker around here. And this time, Jacoby should remember exactly the rules on the restarts. The 88 is going to have control of the fields.
And after he got that big run on that last restart, I'm actually kind of surprised he's not going to take the high line here. That high line seems to be wanting to start to come in a little bit. Seems to be maybe a little bit more traction up there on the front straightaway. I'm surprised. But I will tell you, Joe, that at 45 miles an hour, when these guys take the green flag and how far down it is, it's almost like the start of an NHRA drag race. That's why I think we're seeing all the wheels spin. That's my theory.
All right, waiting for them to go. Green flag is out. There's that drag race down to turn 1. Melvin's looking pretty good. Can he use the same trick that happened to him? Answer is no. He's going to back out of it and get down to that bottom line. Still settling out 5th place with Lee and Hendricks sorting that one. Looks like it's going to go in favor of Lee, taking P5. Hendricks slots into line. In fact, very, very single file for most of the field. Who's that down low there? Bluff, who was off the racing line. Not sure if he was intentionally giving spots away or if he lost a little bit of control there in the number 39.
Going back and trying to look here.
As that's happening, a little bit of a battle between No and Bothwell.
Tyler Pluff, his back end started to come around on him between 3 and 4. He was able to catch it, but you obviously saw how many spots he lost.
Tim had a bit of a no-no himself. He went up into the wall out of turn 4. That slowed him up. He falls all the way back to 12th, does the double lots. And eventually you can see that's Jenkins who gets in front of him. Jenkins, one of those ones that was involved in that big accident on the front stretch, the last caution.
But look just behind them. Look just behind Eckenberg. And Tim No. You got Ix. Yeah, he's coming.
Yep, that number 1 is actually catching up to Eckenberg pretty quickly. The 55 is looking like he's standing still in comparison to the blue, purple and yellow machine. In fact, almost gets into the back of him out of turn 4. Times it right, gets down low. And that's going to give him 13th place now. Meanwhile, up at the front, Jacoby is starting to pull away. Really, the battle is for 2nd place, as Andrew Melvin has Clint Cox really closely behind.
Yeah, that definitely is the race right now on the racetrack, and Clint Cox trying to show the speed that we kind of figured he might have here tonight, and see if he's able to get around Andrew Melvin. He's starting to look, and I think right now he just might be trying to pressure maybe Andrew Melvin into making a mistake. Hey, one thing you might see here in the closing stages of the race, I don't think we really talk about it. Of course, $75 going to the race winner, but $100 goes to a random driver competing 80% of the laps. So that's that's a lot. So you're going to see guys that will be trying to come back out onto the track at the end of this thing, trying to get some damage repaired. So you might see some damaged trucks rejoin as the event goes on here.
Clint managed to get to the inside, and he completes the pass down into 1 and 2. Andrew Melvin gives it up. So while Melvin couldn't chase down Jacoby, what can Clint Cox do in that number 3? He's got about 1.6 seconds to make up on the 88, who admittedly has been a bit of the class of the field today, just has had pace that we've seen few others have up at the front.
Yeah, he really has. He's been able to avoid all the mistakes. Now we're going over to the 7th place, or 8th place rather. Here we got Tyler Pluff, Jim Westerfield, John Jenkins. John Jenkins, we've been talking about Ix, but John Jenkins on a recovery drive as well and doing a great job about it, already moving himself back up to 10th place. Or now 9th place. Move him up to 9th.
Hard into the outside wall of turn 2. We're going to watch a replay you just saw on screen as well that Ix got 2 for 1 on that lap. Was already up to 10th position. This is on board the Michigan driver. Watch him just drifted a little bit too high coming off the second corner. Boom. Wow. You could actually see it bend up a little bit. Yeah. Ix, in regards to our leader, 6.2 seconds behind and running some very, very quick laps in that number 1. He's got a lot of trucks to pass. He certainly seems to be able to handle it. As we take a look at that purple and yellow machine, he's really had no problems just dicing his way through.
I think him and Jenkins, I think they're the only 2 guys left in this race that want to see another caution, maybe 2 cautions. I think they would help them out a ton. Jacoby, he definitely doesn't want to see any, but even then, he might have to hold off Clint Cox here. As Clint Cox, depending on the lap, they kind of alternate who's going faster, but ultimately it seems like Clint Cox is gaining on Jacoby over about the last 5 laps.
I'd love to see a lap comparison recently between Jacoby and Cox, because you're right, he's been gaining time after time here. The 3 and the 88 could be coming together.
This is going to be a good lap here for Cox, I think, right now. Yeah, he knocked off another 10th. Now it's under a second.
Yeah.
You can visually see him get closer there.
And what's interesting is they came in on the same lap for their last pit stop. They've been out there for about 27 of them.
Yeah, what I'm really noticing
with the A08 machine.
What I'm really noticing is the difference is that Jacoby seems like he's really, really trying to stick that thing as close as he can to the asphalt and as low as he can, where Clint Cox starting to try to wander up just a bit, maybe a half car length at times, and with that he's gaining a few tenths. Right now on screen we've got Andrew Melvin, Matthew Lee trying to get to the inside of him, maybe try to take 3rd here.
And he is going to take 3rd, so the 04 is sneaking through now, working his way forward. And we might see Ix get another one pretty soon, because he is now caught up to the back of John Jenkins. These 2 were fighting earlier in the race. Both of them have accrued a little bit of damage since we last saw them. There's no fast repair in this series, so if you get damage, you've just got to deal with it, or simply take the time to get it repaired in the pits. Certainly hasn't slowed up Ix by any means that we can tell. Right on board with Jenkins.
This might be a lap that goes to Jacoby here. Cox had a little bit more issue getting around the lap truck there, Rittenhauer. Not much, though. Okay, actually he was still faster, but only by about 300s as opposed to a 10th or so. So the rate of gain slowed at least a little bit. But man, catching him's one thing here, though. Passing him's going to be another. He's still got to try to figure out a way around him. This could be a very exciting last 25 laps we got shaping up here.
And this is the longest green flag run we've had since the start. So those tires are going to get a little bit worn out unless we get another caution soon. And I'm pretty certain they'll need at least one more stop to get to the end. It'll be awful tight between them.
Yeah, so and then as you saw earlier that getting onto pit road can be tough. So we may not be done with incidents yet. The last caution happened during the middle of the pit cycle also. That really shuffled things up.
We're watching Pluff a little bit earlier. Well, he's caught up to the back of Kenneth McCullough Jr. This is our driver's second place in the championship. Not the greatest of results, but he's come from well far back in the field, has the 03. It'll still be important, especially as the season progresses, to just get these consistent finishes, not necessarily wins week in and week out. Pluff not able to do anything with him. He's stuck right beneath that rear spoiler. A little bit of lap traffic up ahead of them.
Speaking of lap traffic, Julie McLean in the wall right in front of Cox and Jacoby. Cox was already getting underneath the rear spoiler. Jacoby kind of lost a little bit there, having to avoid Julie McLean coming off the wall.
Yeah, that number 20 is still running, thankfully, but Julie is 3 laps down right now, so already in a bit of a bad position. One of those drivers trying to get that 80% mark you were talking about, probably. Let's watch the replay, get a closer look at it. Yeah, that was pretty scary for Cox.
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby had to avoid her anyway, but Cox was the one that really, I thought, if she would have came down the track, she would have been right in his grill. And that was not insignificant contact either. I mean, that hurt her truck for sure.
I was just about to say, a lot of paint was left on the wall from that smack, but Clint is now right on the back of Jason. There's about 2/10 between them. I'm wondering if he's not gaining anymore. You talked about the difference between catching and passing. Let's see if he can do something with him now that he's actually behind him. Giving him a little bit of space, a little bit more gain that time by. Down to about 1/10.5 across the line.
And no lap traffic for a while for these guys. You got Brandenburg, it's about a half corner in front of them, so they'll have a few laps before they catch him. Cox kind of backing off just a touch there. Really, if I'm Cox right now, we still got about 20 laps left here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hang out right here right now. I'm going to put the pressure on him. Maybe try to investigate a few lines, see what happens here. I also don't want to burn up my stuff by, trying to get around him. I'm going to be a little patient here. Maybe he'll make a mistake and make my job easy for me.
Oh, I think we got a wreck on the back stretch. Travis Rucker in the 11th position, now 12th. Wow! He caught it! I don't know how he caught this thing, but if we could get a replay on the number 83. This is similar to what we saw earlier with his truck just suddenly weaving upwards, and then he miraculously had a gap.
Wow. Wow, and when he came back up on the track here in a moment too, it's the guys that, that's a heart attack moment there. That was almost the caution that Ix and them were wanting, and Jenkins.
Wow, was that the 33 whizzing by of Warren?
Oh, Eli Warren breaking loose. He's going to slide up almost into Jenkins. He's able to keep it back down. Same place. Kind of going into 3. The car breaks, the truck tries to break loose.
42 laps on those tires for the 33. In fact, everybody except Kenneth McCullough, John Jenkins, and Jared Ix are on tires that are that old. They're going to be the ones that have to pit first, if not for tires, at least for fuel to get to the end.
Yeah. Move Jenkins up another spot, by the way, and he's got McCullough here under the gun. So, and Jenkins is just on a move. Ix is kind of falling off, but Jenkins is going after it.
He's on, I think, the freshest tires of anybody up there. 32 laps for him. So John Jenkins, as he continues to trail behind Kenneth McCullough, can he quickly get by? It's looking a little bit better off the corner. We ride on board with McCullough Jr. He's just going to drift up high. He sees the speed that the 5 has. He's not going to fight him. So John Jenkins now up to 7th even. What's the must have happened to Ix, because Ix has fallen back to 13th for some reason. So
I don't see any extra damage.
Fluff chasing Hendricks for 5th place. Top 5 points at stake here. Starting to get within about 15 laps to go. Actually, we are within 15 laps to go. A little bit of a different line down through 1 and 2. That's going to give Fluff the inside. Once he gets the nose in there, can he make it stick? He's keeping it tucked down low. Hendricks has no response, though he carries the speed well off the corner. They're coming up on lap traffic. That's McLean up in front of them. McLean's going to stay out of the way. And Pluff now sets his sights on Matthew Lee. Lee looking slow as well.
And you got a whole bunch of guys that are just itching and raring to go here to maybe get on pit road and just trying to get to the end of this thing right now. And Clint Cox is one guy that has really fallen off here the last couple laps. He got all the way up to Jacoby, and it was almost like Jacoby just finally hit the afterburners.
Pluff is flying. Pluff just got 4th place away from Lee. Now, granted, he's 8 seconds behind Jacoby, but that is, what, about 4 places in recent laps for the number 39. We're down to 10 laps to go now. Could these drivers make it to the end? This is going to be awful tight. Who has been saving fuel? Who has enough to go? What was what looks like about 55 to 56 laps from the last stop. Jenkins also gets by Matthew Lee. Is Lee maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel? Is he trying to stretch it out to get to the end? Jenkins is safe to make it.
And it almost looks more like his truck's also not handling as well as what it was either.
This has worked out beautifully for Jenkins if the others can't make it to the end on fuel. Because again, he is the only one besides McCullough and Rucker within the top 10 who could get to the end from here. Supposedly, we're still waiting to see.
And you know, if I'm these guys, like Jacoby, I think maybe he was trying to save a little bit of fuel. Maybe that's why Clint Cox was able to catch up to him so much. Clint Cox is continued to fall off here as maybe he's in a fuel-saving strategy now. These guys know McCullough could probably make it. You know, and now it's at this point, it's like, I'm just going to go for it. Like, pit road, what's that? Let's go. Let's try to get to the checkered flag if we can here.
8 laps to go. And Clint Cox is definitely saving fuel as we ride on board with him. Jenkins is about 10 seconds behind the leader right now. The number 5 is the one we want to watch to see what he can do. Jacoby now down to 6 laps to go. 3.5 second gap back to Cox. Jenkins up to 3rd. He passes Melvin. I can't believe that Jacoby's going this far at this pace because Jenkins is not catching him right now. But obviously for Cox, he is just gaining on him hand over fist.
Yeah, Cox is in full-on fuel-saving mode. He's just trying to get there. He knows he's going to fall a ways back to John Jenkins before he ultimately gets there. And Jason Jacoby, he's coming down. Jason Jacoby coming down pit road.
Ooh, so as we come down to 4 laps to go, Cox is able to stay out. Jenkins, let's see how far behind he is.
Oh, man. Can Cox make it the rest of the way? He's got 5 seconds back. I think he's out. Yep, he's out. He's coming down turn 3. John Jenkins might just come away with this thing here.
He's going to have to go for 3 more laps, and he's got plenty of fuel to do that from what I'm seeing. The number 5 now inherits the lead with 3 laps to go. What about the drivers behind that have enough? McCullough continues on. Pluff is actually still going, and he's on lap 57 of his stint. Ix is actually inheriting a lot of spots from this.
Buff is coming in now.
Couldn't quite make it. 2 laps to go. Who would have thought we'd have it green all the way to the finish? White flag is getting ready to be waved for John Jenkins. I see another truck that looks like they've run out of fuel. I think that was Warren.
Oh, and you better get to the line because that truck's coming to a stop. Next flag ends it, which will be the checkered flag.
Indeed, John Jenkins with the white flag lap and enough fuel to get to the end. A 3-second gap to the truck behind him. Well done strategy call for the number 5 victory today for John Jenkins here at Dover. McCullough comes home behind him in second. Travis Rucker, wow, what a third place for him. We haven't really hardly talked about him at all this night. Ix recovers to 4th with his late stop. And Matthew Lee, get this, Matthew Lee does make it to 5th. 60 laps that he ran. 60 laps. Beautiful call by the 04. That got him a top 5.
Oh, man.
Right, so that's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. What a finish. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Back to Dover International Speedway. We just watched the latest round in the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series, and John Jenkins not only took the victory, but was our first driver of the season to manage to win twice. It took until round 5 for it. Kenneth McCullough Jr. finished behind him in second, with Travis Rucker taking 3rd position. Jared Ix, who was 2 laps down at one point, came back onto the lead lap and managed 4th. Matthew Lee was 5th behind them, eking out his fuel farther than anybody else thought possible. Last driver on the lead lap, incredibly, was 6th place, Troy Cook. Then, with all the late pit stops, you had drivers going laps down. Brad Bothwell in 7th, Davey Hendricks in 8th, and Tim Mill in 9th. Clint Cox, he looked like he was going to try and save fuel, but it wasn't enough. He rounds out the top 10.
Going over to 11th position, and these are still guys that had a great race, including Jason Jacoby, who was leading with 5 laps to go. And he ends up at 11th position. Jim Westerfield in 12th, Tyler Pluff in 13th. We thought he might make it. He ultimately did not. Andrew Melvin, 14th. David Santini, 15th. 16th could go to Eckenberg. 17th, Eli Warren. William Rucker in 18th. 19th could go to Kevin Sargent. Mark Wilson in 20th.
Jose Medina managed 21st with Steve McGaffey in the 22nd position. Then it's Julian McLean, I believe the last of our actual finishers, in 23rd. Then you get to some people who had big problems. Gregory Brandenburg, 13 laps down in 24th. Raymond Rittenauer, looks like he did get back out there for a moment, but came back down pit lane. 25th for him. Brandon Bullock, 26th. Chad Ross, 27th. Braden Johnson, 28th. And Peyton Howell, 29th. Last of the field were all DNFs that you'll see there on your screen for the final few drivers, with a couple did not starts as well. With that, we've got our winner ready to talk to us. John Jenkins joins us in the booth. John, you're the first 2-time winner of the season. Did you expect it to be number 2 to happen in that kind of race, though?
No, not really. After I got that damage from losing it off of 2, that was really sketchy. I'm glad I saved it. I didn't hurt Matthew too much whenever he tried to miss me. So yeah, I didn't expect to win tonight, but it's been a rough few weeks since the first round. So
it was still a little tight on fuel for you, although you and many who pitted on that same lap were a lot more comfortable than others. But at what point did you start to think, this is going to go green to the end, and I need to watch that fuel gauge?
That as soon as I went down pit road there, that before that last restart, I was already saving fuel under pace laps.
Wow.
Coming out of the pit.
Very, very early thinking. Great heads up on that. It certainly allowed you to get a win here today. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this one? Hopefully you've got a very proud calculator.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my handy dandy calculator. Did me well tonight. Crew chief wasn't too bad, I guess. You guys for the broadcast. I know it's been a rough few weeks, but it's been a lot of fun, really. I usually go back and watch them. Overtake, FEG, Ford Entertainment Group. Jeff puts on pretty good league here. What is that? FEG.net. I personally haven't gotten a PC from him, but I've always heard good things. So shout out to Jeff there, and all these guys that I race with. They're a bunch of cool guys.
Awesome stuff. Well, that's a cool $75 in your pocket. Go enjoy it. That was our winner, John Jenkins. Up next, Adams caught up with second place finisher. Came into this race second in the points even. Kenneth McCullough Jr.
Yeah, second in the points, second in today, started this race in 29th position. Kenneth, bringing the Miss Budweiser machine home today. I mean, you were in the thick of it almost the entire race.
Yeah, man, and my goal was to stay out of the thick of it, but that didn't happen. Seems like everywhere you was at, there was a bunch of cars in front of you or behind you.
Well, they say sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but, you had a great day, and the fact that you came in and you were able to get both done, be lucky and good, only a little bit of damage on the truck. And, well, here's for this, did you think that second place would have been possible with looking at how things were going for you in the middle of the race?
Well, when I came in right there and topped off there at the end, or come in and pit, and a bunch of cars didn't in front of me, I knew what the gas mileage was. I knew I was cutting it close. And once they got going green there, I realized, I was like, yeah, I might be sitting pretty good. And I was hoping for no caution.
Well, There goes that lucky part. The luck went your way on that final stretch there with no caution. So I got to ask anybody you want to thank first and foremost, and then and also I got another question too that's not related to your finishing position. I want to get you to thank here out of the way.
Yeah, I'd like to thank y'all, man, for doing a hell of a job on these broadcasting, and I'd like to thank Jeff for putting this thing on.
All right, now my question is for you: all those restarts in the middle there, what was the wheel spin like on the restarts? How tough was that for you to manage?
It wasn't too bad for me because majority of the time I was coming in to take tires when everybody else was staying out. What was rough was everybody in front of you spinning the tires and having to check up for them.
All right, that's kind of what I wanted to get your perspective on there. Well, hey, Kent, congratulations on finishing second. I believe that'll move you into the points lead after today, and you go get them here the rest of the way.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy.
And up next, we have our third place finisher, Travis Rucker, joining us. He was one of those drivers that pitted right before we had that first caution, but somehow came back to get in the thick of it. Travis, you started at the back of the pack. You had to deal with that unfortunate timing. How in the world did you wind up in third?
Honestly, I'm not really sure, man. I did not pay any attention whatsoever to pit strategy or anything. I just pitted when I pitted. And then whenever the leader said they were getting ready to pit, I looked and I had a couple of laps extra, so I just ran it out.
Forget spending money on a crew chief then, I guess. That laissez-faire strategy certainly worked out well for you, but this top three will be a nice little boost in the points. What are you looking at overall in this championship? Do you have any particular goals?
I'd like to make it to the top four and try to battle it out there at the last race and see if I can take home some money.
You came into this tied for 11th position, so that seems certainly doable. Next week, though, we're going to be heading over to Daytona. We've already had the Talladega round. How are you usually at the super speedways?
I love running super speedways. It's a lot of fun. You just have to kind of have a little bit of luck and avoid all the big ones.
Well, best of luck avoiding those. It's certainly going to be a fun race to watch, and congratulations on the top three.
Thank you.
That was the number 83 of Travis Rucker here that we were just talking to, and that closes out our interviews for tonight of what was a very fun race for us up in the booth. But we want to thank our sponsors before we go, with a big thank you to FEG PC. Again, check them out at fegpc.net. And also to the iRacing Flea Market. The link is in the description below for that Facebook group. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lamont, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Our social media is Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, we've got a merchandise store and link in the description below. But before you go there, make sure and hit the subscribe button because, again, we're doing that giveaway for the holidays so that you make sure that you are entered in for a free drawing or an item of your choice from that store. Next race, that's going to be at Daytona Monday, January 6th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Everybody's going to take a little bit of a break here in FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series just to enjoy some time with family and friends. But we have upcoming races in the meantime before that for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.